Hello, Sophie. Thank you very much. Welcome to the programme. Coming up tonight, 83-year-old Maureen Gilbert died when her home was flooded by Storm Babette. Her son criticises poor communications.
If that had happened and the fire service had gone in and found my mum, I wouldn't have had to find her, which has been one of my biggest nightmares since that day.
The coroner says other residents are still at risk. Also coming up tonight, 73-year-old blood transfusions at 4 years old, but she might not need any in future because a stem cell donor has been found.
Don't tell us at Look North that it's an international break for football this weekend. Look, Sheffield United women are about to start in Women's Super League 2. Join us shortly from Bramall Lane.
And 3 kittens sign up for shed work at the North Yorkshire Moors Railway.
Well, this picture from Kettlewell this afternoon sums today's weather up very nicely. Partly cloudy, there's been some sunshine around, but will the sunshine this weekend? Join me for that detailed forecast.
Good evening. Thank you for your company. A street in Derbyshire where an elderly woman drowned in her home during a major storm still poses a deadly risk to its residents. 83-year-old Maureen Gilbert from Chesterfield was found floating in the water at her home in Tapton Terrace in October 2023 during Storm Babette. At the inquest into her death today, the coroner warned people living on the same road could still be in danger in future flooding events. Emily Williamson reports.
In October 2023, hundreds of properties in Chesterfield were flooded, including Maureen Gilbert's home on Tapton Terrace, after the nearby River Rother burst its banks. Firefighters tried to save the pensioner, but they couldn't get to her property because the floodwaters were so high. A request to revisit the home didn't get through to crews, as computer systems were down due to the storm. Maureen was found by her son the following morning, who says the fire service did everything they could to save his mum.
The failings of the system going down and messages not being passed on and everything, that is hard to imagine, because if that had happened and the fire service had gone in and found my mum, I wouldn't have had to find her, which has been one of my biggest nightmares since that day.
Maureen lived on the same street in Chesterfield all her life and was proud of where she lived. The inquestors heard Tapton Terrace flooded before in 2007, which damaged Maureen's property. At the time, she said it was the biggest event in her life and said she never imagined that her home would have flooded. But it did on the 20th of October 2023. Council workers had delivered sandbags to the low-lying street and had raised the alarm to the emergency services earlier that day that an elderly resident was in the property. Today, the coroner Matthew Cooley said Maureen Gilbert died in her home where she was entitled to feel safe and secure. He said firefighters did all they reasonably and safely could to rescue her from her home. But he said Tapton Terrace still poses a deadly risk to its residents, many of whom are elderly, vulnerable and in some cases immobile. He's issuing a prevention of future deaths report in the next 2 weeks, and he's sending it to the relevant government minister, the Environment Agency and Derbyshire County Council. Maureen's son Paul says he agrees that residents are still at risk from flooding.
We all kind of know roughly when the river's at a level, and an hour, maybe 2 hours before it did flood, I checked the river levels and I was happy with them and I was okay with them at the time. But it just comes from nowhere.
During Storm Babette, Derbyshire Fire and Rescue Service dealt with more than 1,700 emergency calls across 2 days, and its control room had to deal with 2 separate systems failures. The service has released a statement today which says, "We've already learned from this incident, we have invested heavily in our systems and we've made changes to our operational processes." Today, the coroner said he was satisfied that the outcome would not have been different had the re-inspection taken place. A short narrative conclusion has been recorded that Maureen Gilbert died in her home, caused by floodwaters due to Storm Babette. Emily Williamson, BBC Look North at Chesterfield Coroner's Court.
And the other main story today, a former boxing coach who's worked with some of the biggest names in the sport has been jailed for drug offences. Andrew Bullcroft, who's better known as Steffi Bull, was a former professional fighter himself before becoming a coach for athletes such as world champion Terry Harper. But now the Doncaster man has been jailed for his role in a cocaine conspiracy, as Steve Jones explains.
Steffi Bull was a well-known and well-respected figure in boxing. His career has spanned decades, with him fighting champions like Amir Khan. After hanging up his gloves, Bull then began guiding the careers of other fighters, working with the likes of three-weight world champion Terry Harper. But a trial heard he was involved in a conspiracy to supply cocaine after more than £1 million worth of the drug was uncovered by police.
In a courtroom behind me, we heard how Bull was the middleman in the operation, helping distribute the drugs to be sold across South Yorkshire. He'd already sold about 5 kilograms of cocaine before he was caught in June 2020. The judge said that amount would have made him a significant profit. Bull claimed he'd got involved in drugs because he'd been hard up for cash during the COVID lockdown. His co-defendant and criminal business partner Benjamin Williams admitted his guilt before trial, whereas Bull was found guilty by a jury.
There's no suggestion that any of the fighters Bull has worked with were involved in the criminal scheme or knew what he was doing. Today, the judge told Bull he had played high stakes throughout his boxing career and had tried to do the same in the drugs world. Williams was jailed for 8.5 years, with Bull being jailed for 10 years. Steve Jones, BBC Look North, Sheffield Crown Court.
Reform's Deputy Leader Richard Tice has claimed that people are trying to stop the power of the sun, as one of his councillors is criticised for claiming man-made climate change is a hoax. Mr Tice also criticised Doncaster Council's pension scheme for investing in woke things. It's Reform's party conference in Birmingham today and tomorrow. James Vincent has been there for us.
Yeah, welcome to Birmingham, welcome to conference season. This is Reform's biggest ever conference because in the local elections this year they did really well. They've got councillors, they're running things. They're running Nottinghamshire County Council, they're running Derbyshire County Council. They've got the most councillors in Doncaster as well, though they don't run the council because there's a mayoral system there. There's a Labour mayor in place. And it's that time of year when we speak to leaders and deputy leaders ahead of conferences to see what their plans are for the next election, what they're promising people. So I sat down with Richard Tice, the Deputy Leader of Reform, earlier this week. He took the chance to have a go at the pension scheme at Doncaster Council.
We're looking also in areas where people haven't previously thought of. So just yesterday, I had a press conference identifying the mismanagement of council pension schemes, including the Doncaster scheme, where there's vast overpayment of fees to rich investment managers, woeful underperformance, investing in woke things, illiquid funds. Do you know what? This actually affects council taxpayers.
It will do. What sort of money are we talking about in Doncaster?
Tens and tens tens of millions of pounds.
I did press Richard Tice there for some actual figures for Doncaster. We didn't get that. The industry body that does the pension says they don't recognise what Reform is saying. The South Yorkshire Pension Authority says that the pension fund's well funded and maintains in line with industry best practice a diversified investment strategy which ensures funds are always available to pay pensions. So that's one argument. The next argument actually was about climate change, because Bert Bingham, a worksop councillor in charge of transport and the environment at Nottinghamshire County Council, said earlier this summer that man-made climate change was a hoax. So I put that to Richard Tice. In Nottinghamshire, your cabinet member in charge of the environment says that climate change is man-made climate change is a hoax. Do you agree with him? He's in charge of the environment for people in Worksop, in Bassett Law. What must they think about that?
The joy of a democracy and free speech is people can have different views. Wouldn't it be boring if we're all the same? Look,
But do you agree with him?
Climate change is real, okay? It's been going on, guess what, for millions of years, and it'll go on for millions more years. This idea that we
probably need to do something about it, though, don't we?
The idea that arrogantly we think we can stop the power of the sun, stop the power of volcanoes.
I don't think anybody's saying that we're going to stop the power of the sun.
You're wrong, right? They're literally saying if we get to net zero, you stop climate change. That's garbage. And we've got to stop this misinformation from the media, including the BBC, okay? Right?
Why is it misinformation if we're reporting what scientists are saying?
Because many scientists also say that actually you can't stop the power of the sun.
It sounds like you're very close to saying do your own research here. Is that something you would recommend other people do?
The point about science is never settled. Technology moves on. And anybody who thinks that if you get to net stupid zero tomorrow, you're going to stop the power of, you're going to stop climate change, even the IPCC itself says that if you get to net zero tomorrow, you don't stop sea level rise for between 200 years and 1,000 years. In other words,
you've just said net stupid zero. Do you think some of the language that you use is a bit divisive? No, but do you think that
it's a bit offensive. Diddums, I'm so sorry.
Are you contributing to the deterioration of the debate?
We're actually contributing to saving British industry. Literally, right? Liberty Steel has just been taken over by the official receiver. Thousands of jobs at risk. Thanks to reform, British Steel has been saved by the government from going bust. You've got jobs being lost all over the place because of the cost of energy, the cost of electricity, because of net stupid zero. We're calling it out, and guess what? It's actually resonating with people. It's why we're leading in the polls.
Did you call me Diddums then? Right, okay. Richard Tice, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a bit of an odd one. I've never been called Diddums before. The important thing to say is that man-made climate change is real. The human activity is heating the planet. Net zero is something that all parties have committed to, apart from reform. They're against it. They say they would get rid of all net zero policies. But Reform have got an interesting year ahead. They're really confident of the local elections and then going ahead towards the general election. But they need to convince people that now they're in power that they can do it. People have trusted them in the election this year. They need to prove to people that they can run councils, they can run police forces, and they can be mayors.
Well, as James mentioned there, we will be speaking to members from each political party as the autumn conference season continues. In the other big political news today, the Prime Minister Keir Starmer has just had a cabinet reshuffle, which comes just hours after Angela Rayner resigned as Deputy Prime Minister. As part of that switch-up, West Yorkshire MP Yvette Cooper has moved from her role as Home Secretary and has now been appointed as Foreign Secretary, responsible for overseeing international affairs. In other news, counter-terrorism police have arrested 2 men in West Yorkshire on suspicion of terrorism offences. A 33-year-old man was arrested at an address in Leeds, and a 31-year-old man was arrested from an address in Huddersfield as part of an ongoing investigation. They were taken to a local police station for questioning, and searches are ongoing at a number of properties. Police say the arrests were pre-planned, and there is not believed to be any imminent threat to the public. The Duchess of Kent, who grew up in North Yorkshire, has died at the age of 92. The Duchess, who was the oldest member of the royal family, married Prince Edward, the Duke of Kent, a first cousin of the late Queen Elizabeth II at York Minster in 1961. She grew up at Hovingham Hall near Moulton and went to school in York before meeting the Duke while he was based at Catterick Garrison.
She's been quite frail for a few years, and I think it is a sad day because it's, of course, the end of an era. And for Yorkshire, for North Yorkshire particularly, because of the connections with the Worsley family in Hovingham, it's more pertinent for us as well.
Now, a 4-year-old girl from Bingley has endured 73 blood transfusions since birth due to a rare disorder called diamond black fan anemia syndrome. Now, it's a condition where the bone marrow doesn't produce enough red blood cells. It's so rare that Freya is one of only about 125 people in the UK who are affected. Now, though, a suitable stem cell donor has been found, which could mean Freya won't need blood transfusions in the future. With the story, Heidi Tomlinson.
Playing make-believe, 4-year-old Freya transporting herself away from the reality of regular blood transfusions.
I had a needle in my hand.
That was this morning, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Why do you have needles?
To get my blood out.
It's Wednesday the 3rd of September, and today we're in for Freya's routine bloods, which we do every 3 weeks. It took us about an hour to get here, and we do these routine bloods 2 days roughly before blood transfusions, which she also has to have every 3 weeks.
As a baby, Freya was diagnosed with diamond black fan anemia syndrome, a rare condition which means the bone marrow doesn't produce enough red blood cells. Symptoms include pale skin and fatigue. In 4 years, she's endured 73 transfusions.
She was a really brave, confident, strong little individual that doesn't really seem to get fazed by some of the regular stuff a 4-year-old would. She has struggled quite badly with a needle phobia in the last couple of years, which has been a bit tricky for us all to deal with.
Long term, the best option is a bone marrow transplant, which after months of preparation is now imminent.
We're in the sort of really lucky case where we have this 20-year-old donor who is ready to go, and we'll donate stem cells to Freya on the 17th of September. A transplant is actually a really complicated high-risk procedure, and I've seen friends go through it with their children, and it is really scary.
This is my cottage. This is Walky's bedroom.
And what are you sat inside? How did we make this?
Using our cardboard and drills.
Amy and Freya are in isolation to prevent infection before the operation and will have to stay home for months after the procedure. Hospital appointments are all this energetic, happy girl has ever known. It's hoped a transplant will mean a more carefree childhood. Heidi Tomlinson, BBC Look North.
Now, let's keep our fingers crossed. Now to someone equally as inspirational. Craig Scott from South Yorkshire is running the Great North Run in Newcastle this weekend, and it comes just a year after his wife Jo passed away from sudden death in epilepsy. During his training, he's lost over 4 stones. You're looking absolutely fantastic, Craig. You join us now. I guess if I'd said to you 2 or 3 years ago you're going to run the Great North Run this weekend, you might have been a bit flabbergasted.
Yeah, absolutely no chance. I'm somebody who'd always thought the fun run was a contradiction in terms.
Me too.
A half marathon is a massive change from anything I'd thought I'd have been doing, but desperate times and desperate measures, I think.
I'm really sorry we're not meeting under happier circumstances. How has this last year been since you lost your wife to sudden death and epilepsy?
It's been very difficult, but having this focus and this to drive me on has made a big difference. I've got a 3-year-old boy at home, so being able to do something positive and actually make sure that my wife's legacy is a positive one has been important for him and for me as well.
And like many people who run marathons, you are running it to raise money for charity, and a charity that's very close to your heart.
Absolutely. Epilepsy Action. It's actually their 75th anniversary today, and they're a charity that meant a great deal to my wife. And to be able to continue that work that she did is something that I consider a great honour.
I'm guessing there's an awful lot of research that still needs to be done in epilepsy. It strikes me that actually celebrating its 75th anniversary, it sounds a lot, but that's a comparatively young charity, isn't it, for such a big condition?
Yeah, there's much, much more to be done. Scientists really don't understand very much about epilepsy, and for a condition that's so common, 1 in 100 people in the UK have got it, it really needs more research and more understanding, which is where this fundraising will hopefully come in.
So 13 miles, I'm guessing on the way round you're going to be thinking not only of your wife but of your son.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be an emotional day, but I mean, I've raised over £3,000 for the Great North Run alone. As a family, we've raised over £10,000, so that's serious money that will hopefully make a big difference.
And absolutely, you don't know where that money goes and what difference that might make to someone else's life in future, which is wonderful, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing that I can do about my situation, but if I can stop somebody else being in the same position in the future, that's got to be worthwhile.
Do you want to give us the plug then? If people are listening to this and this is resonating with them, how can they support you?
Absolutely. I've got a Just Giving page set up, so if you look for Craig Scott Great North Run on there, you'll find me. Any money that anybody could donate would be greatly appreciated, and it will do a lot of good.
What's the last-minute training regime for a first-time big fun runner?
At the moment, it's as little as possible. I did my last swim on Wednesday night, but now it's just a case of rest the legs and I'm ready to go.
That's fantastic. Although, keep our fingers crossed for you. You're going to be on Radio Sheffield on Monday morning, aren't you? So
yes.
If anyone wants to know if you broke a record, let's hope not broke a limb, but broke a record maybe, we can find out then.
I don't think there's much chance of either, hopefully, anyway. But
we'll keep our fingers crossed for you, and it's a wonderful cause you're raising money for, and thank you very much indeed for coming on.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Good luck to Craig. Into the rest of the sport now. In Rugby League, the Leeds Rhinos boosted their hopes of a second-place finish in Super League with a 26-0 win over Huddersfield Giants. Mikołaj Oledzki went over for the Rhinos' 4th try, taking Leeds level on points with Wigan. Now, there are just 3 weeks to go before the playoffs. The Giants are 10th in the table and out of contention. So let's get from rugby balls to football. You'll hear people say it is an international break this weekend. Well, we're here to tell you don't believe them, because there is still a lot going on in Leagues 1 and 2, including a quite tasty-looking Yorkshire derby between Donny Rovers and Bradford City tomorrow. And it is the launch of the new season for our leading women's teams. Sheffield United women have already started their opening match, around about 45 minutes ago to be precise. Paul Ogden is at Bramall Lane for us.
You've got it exactly right, Tom. What we should be saying is happy new season. Don't tell me it's an international break. This is Sheffield United women just about to start their season at home to Sunderland tonight in WSL 2, Women's Super League 2. And I'm very pleased to say that one of the Sheffield United players, Sian Rogers, has joined us. I wish you were playing, of course, Sian, but happy new season nevertheless. What's the feeling in the squad?
No, thank you for having me. I think any start of new season, everyone's just excited. Been a long pre-season, but it's been a very good one, and we're just excited to get started and show what we're about this season.
Let's get straight to the point, Sian. Last season wasn't brilliant for Sheffield United women, finishing bottom of the league. Actually, only still in this league because of a reprieve, because of the demise of Blackburn Rovers women. You'll want to make sure that doesn't get repeated. I do get a feeling of a fresh start here.
Obviously, what happened last season wasn't ideal, but what's happened this season, we're looking to push on, and we've said it within the group, we've got no limits this season on what we're pushing to do, and I think we just want to give a good account of ourselves and push on and show what Sheffield United Women's about.
You gave us the opportunity to film training in the build-up to tonight's launch against Sunderland, and we'd noticed a lot of new faces. Tell us about the recruitment briefly. How new is the squad?
Well, obviously there's still a core group of us from last season, obviously, and then bringing in new faces, and they've just settled in like as really, really good, brought a freshness to the team, and obviously pushed us on as players that were here last season. And I think the group we've got is an exciting group.
Absolutely brilliant. I tell you what, this is some place to start as well. You're home, and it's the home of men's team and women's team here at Bramall Lane, which I think is a bit underappreciated, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. I think at this club, it's not the men's stadium, it's our stadium, it's the club stadium, and I think people don't realise that. I think Sheffield Women were probably one of the first to put all their women's games at the stadium. People call it the men's stadium. At this club, it's our stadium, the club stadium. It's not just the men's, it's ours as well.
Absolutely. And we wish you all the best, not just for the season broadly, but also with the recovery from your injury, because we're looking forward to seeing you playing here as well. And the game will finish at around 7:45 tonight here at Bramall Lane, and there'll be more 6 o'clock kickoffs to look out for between now and the end of the season. I can mark you. Happy new season indeed for Sheffield United women and for all of our region's leading women's teams.
Thanks, Paul. We'll update you on how that scoreline went on the late bulletin at 10:30. Let's get to my comfort zone now. North Yorkshire Moors Railway is inviting passengers to come and say hello to their new station cats, Titch, Ash and Clinker. The 3 jet black kittens, which were found as strays, have been recruited as part of the nighttime security team, chasing down mice, doubtless. And they are already getting to know their brand new home in the engine shed at Gromont, as Nicola Rees now reports.
Meet the newest recruits at North Yorkshire Moors Railway. 3 tiny black kittens, Titch, Ash and Clinker. They started life as strays, but now they've found a home of their own down by the engine shed at Gromont Station.
We've always had shed cats for the past 40 years, and they're our chief rodent officers and our nighttime security. So the guys love having a cat around the shed as well.
So, a long-held tradition of railway cats round here, but this is the first time they've had a trio.
Titch and Clinker living in our bucket, and Ash has decided she wanted to take on the role as, shall we say, safari consultant.
You were keen to recruit 1 station cat, and you've ended up with 3.
Yeah, so we ended up with 3 because Jane, one of our volunteers, lives in Farndale, and she had 3 little kittens abandoned on her lawn. So she said she was looking for a home for the cats, and we said, yes, we'll take them.
So this is Titch. She is the only one of the trio that's happy-ish to be handled at the moment. She's very feisty because they were wild cats. Still are really, aren't you? Very mischievous, very cheeky, and anything that moves, she absolutely pounces on. So I think, Titch, you're going to be very confident in your role as Chief Pest Controller, aren't you? Should we let you go? Go on then, where are you off to? She's away. They'll be on patrol day and night. If you're lucky, you might catch a glimpse of them next time you're passing through. Nicola Rees, BBC Look North, Gromont.
Lovely stuff. May they have a long career keeping the mice out of the fireboxes. Now, it has. When I was getting my coffee in Penistone this morning, there was a lot of rain chat. We've had a lot of rain. I want to know, what's it done to the reservoir?
Well, some parts have. I mean, you messaged me yesterday, cloudburst in Sheffield.
Yeah, and
so
we had another one yesterday as well.
Yeah,
it was
you
really
would
heaving.
think that would have an impact. Well, I've got a video
Okay.
from your favourite part of the world, one of them, Derwent. Look at that, just look at that.
Wow,
tributary that's pouring in. The camera comes back. This is pouring into Derwent Reservoir.
Yes, look at that.
So that's after the cloudbursts of the last few days.
And that's what we need, isn't it?
A big volume of water. The bad news is for the rest of Yorkshire, bizarrely, a lot of these storms missed most of Yorkshire Water's catchment, but you know, more of those storms, and then we might see progress lifting those reservoirs. Let's see. There's some rain in the forecast over the next week. A couple of quick pictures before we get onto the sequence. That's Ribblehead Viaduct, magnificent there. Bit of cumulus Type 2 activity there over the hills. And the second picture that we've selected tonight is a stunning drone shot. That's Bulmer, that's Castle Howard part of the world with, what do they say, Tom? Mist and mellow fruitfulness. That was at sunrise at around about 6 o'clock this morning. Keep the pictures coming in then on X, on Instagram and on the Weather Watcher website. So all in all, it's not looking too bad. Certainly Saturday looks a dry and bright day with some sunshine. On Sunday, things will start to go downhill a little bit, courtesy of this weather front, but it does tend to fizzle as it pushes up against this southeasterly wind. So after a fine start Sunday, a bit of patchy rain developing through the afternoon, not a great deal. And then I think next week we're back to sunshine and scattered showers. There's a satellite picture. These clumps of cloud did produce 1 or 2 showers this afternoon, but most of us have been dry. And actually the direction of weather is coming up from the south over the next 24 hours. So that means there's a lot of clear weather over France. That means we're in for a nice day tomorrow. In the short term, dry out there with some sunshine, and then overnight looks dry with clear spells. We'll see lowest overnight temperatures down to around 8 or 9 Celsius. 9 in York is 48 Fahrenheit. Tomorrow's high water times then in Scarborough 3:55, Bridlington at 4:13. So a lovely day on Saturday. There will be some patchy cloud around at times, but for most it's dry and bright with some pleasant early September sunshine. We'll see top temperatures reaching 21, perhaps 22 degrees. Bit of a breeze picking up from the southeast. It might take the edge off the temperatures, but still a lovely day along the coast. Sunday, a fine bright start. The risk of a few showers later. Then next week, plenty of sunshine, but there is a risk of scattered showers. That's the forecast.
When you say missing the catchment, essentially you're saying the reservoirs are in the wrong place?
Let's move them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yorkshire Water, please pick up your buckets and move them, and then we can get this hosepipe ban over with. That's all we have for now. We're back at 10:30 tonight. From your Friday team, see you soon.